With this kit, you're going to be making this kitty charm. If this is your first time creating with us, we want to share a few tips to make this experience a great one. If you haven't yet, visit our techniques videos linked in the description below. For all you first timers, we sent you some pipe cleaners in your kit specifically to practice with these videos and learn common techniques that will make your piece even better. Regardless of how many times you've done this, you have some extra pipe cleaners in your kit in case you make a mistake. That's completely normal and we've planned for it. The more time and attention you give to your piece, the better it will turn out. So take all the time you need, follow the steps, and above all, have fun learning and advancing in this new art form. Happy twisting! Start by shaping your pipe cleaner to the template that came with your kit. Run it through your fingers to give it a curved shape to start. As you shape, be sure to pin down the pieces you've already done. This way, you can keep that shape and continue to move around the template for the rest. Once you have the right shape, simply connect by twisting the excess at the bottom over itself to secure. Check and size this to the template once complete. We need 2 of these frames. To make the second one, shape your first into a triangle as shown. This is temporary, but it will help ensure that your pieces are the same in the end. Now use that triangle as a template to shape your second frame. Lock in this shape as you did the first. Now make sure your pieces match up equally. You can now reshape your triangles to the template to make them the correct shape for the body. Let's make braces to strengthen our frame. Use a new pipe cleaner to tie onto the top of the shape. Connect the piece onto the bottom of the frame. Be sure you're pinching at the point of the connection before you loop over. That way you're not going to be pulling too tightly and losing your shape. Trim the end and secure onto the bottom. Make a horizontal brace in the center as you made the first. When you come to the vertical brace that you just made, be sure to loop onto it as you pass to secure it. Once it's connected, trim and secure the end. Now repeat this brace making process for your other frame. Now grab 2 new pipe cleaners. You're gonna fold both of them and cut them in the middle. So you should have 4 halves when you're finished. Shape your first ear to the template with one of those halves. When you find the shape, bend back to make the base of the triangle as shown. Bend both sides to make the base. Secure the excess by looping in at the angle on the bottom on both sides as shown. Just loop each in and back through to lock in that shape. Now make 3 more just like that. Remember to be shaping your new ear to the first one to keep them all the same. Now let's make the tail. Shape a full pipe cleaner to the tail on the template to begin. You're gonna simply fold over at the tip of the tail and round it out on the template, and then just double up the shape of the tail to the right size. Once you find where you want your tail to end, take the smaller end and bend it up to make it the right size. Use the longer part to start where you just bent that smaller end and wrap around all the way up the tail. You will be wrapping and pinching all the way up as you go. When you get to the tip, weave through to lock in the shape and then trim and secure. Now you can mold and shape your tail how you like. You will have a small excess at the bottom to secure onto the piece later. Let's fill our frames. Grab a full new pipe cleaner and tie on by looping a small piece over the edge at the top of the frame to start. When you start across for the first time, you're gonna loop onto the other side of the frame opposite the side you just locked onto. That will keep your fill from moving. From here, you're simply going to be doing a wrap fill. To do this fill, you're just gonna lay the pipe cleaner across the frame and gently bend and fold around the edges. Turning the piece will make this easier. It's a good idea to pinch on the end as you turn, so when you come to that part where it's going to bend, pinch together and then turn. This will keep your shape and not pull too tightly with the pipe cleaner you're using to wrap. So gently bend the wrapping pipe cleaner at the frame edge and turn the piece. Keep your lines straight and close together as you go. When you come to the end of a pipe cleaner, you're simply going to grab another full one and twist a small amount of the ends together tightly as shown. Then continue with your wrapping fill. Do this each time you need more pipe cleaner. To keep your piece very clean, it's always good to keep all of these extensions on the same side. So you can trim the pipe cleaner before it reaches the front again and extend if you're not going to make it all the way around, just so that it's nice and clean. When you get to the curve on the base, you're going to tie onto the side of the frame again like you did at the beginning of the fill to create another anchor point. From here, you're going to continue to tie on to the sides of the frame as you go across. This is a weave fill and you're going to do it for the rest of this fill. With this frame filled, trim and secure the end. Repeat the same process to fill the second frame. As you're filling, it's always a good idea to check one shape to the other. You can adjust the shape if it's off at all to make them match. Trim and secure once your fill is complete. Now you have 2 filled, clean kitty body pieces. Let's pair up our ears. One will be the back and one will be the front for each. Hook onto the side of one of the ears at the base and we will weave to fill this ear. To weave, simply loop over and through on each side and go back across until it's filled. Trim the extra, but leave a small piece off the top as shown to connect later. Use the extra you trimmed off the first ear to fill the second ear. Do this in the same way. You're going to be looping on, pulling across, looping over the frame, and back until it's filled. Trim down the extra, but leave a little as before for connection. To start the eyes, cut a full black pipe cleaner in half. Begin by bending back a small amount of the end as shown. Then spiral tightly around it about 6 times and check your size to the template. Once you have your size and circle shape, take the long extra and push it under and back to the middle so you have a connection piece and trim it to make it shorter. Use the part you just trimmed off the first eye to make the second eye in the same way, starting with a small bend, then spiraling around. Make sure to check this eye to the first one to keep them the same size. Now you have 2 eyes ready to connect. For this next part, you're gonna wanna grab a spare piece of paper because you're gonna need to catch all the fuzz. In addition, move any pieces you've created out of the working space so they don't gather fuzz. You will be shaving down a full black pipe cleaner for this next part. Be sure an adult helps you with this technique if you're a kiddo, but as an adult, be sure to be very careful as you do this. You will want to shave off as much fuzz as possible, leaving the wire. Keep your scissors close to the wire. Using the front part of the scissors is more effective as you do this and easier to control. Take your time and don't rush. Now you have a clean wire to make features with. If you have a ruler handy, grab that. You'll want 1-inch segments for the whiskers. Cut 6 of those. Once you have the size, use the cut pieces to measure the rest. You will want an adult to help you with this part as well. Once you have all 6 whiskers cut, collect them and set them aside. we will continue cutting this wire for other features. For the feet, you'll want to cut two 2-inch pieces. So you're going to have two 2-inch pieces of wire. This will leave you some extra when you shape to the template in order to connect. Once again, measure the second foot to the piece you already cut. Now collect your foot pieces and keep them separate from your whiskers. Use the remaining wire to make the mouth. You will pinch in the middle to a tight point. Then shape to the piece labeled mouth on your template. You will have more than you need, but you will trim that down later. When you find the shape of your smile and locate where you want it to stop, that should be just below the center point. Bend back at that point on both sides to create those connections. You can shape both sides of the smile to how you want them to be. To make the tongue, grab a pink pipe cleaner and measure about 2 inches. You can use your finger, but the amount you need is about 2 inches in case your finger's a little smaller. Once you have that measured out, trim it off carefully. To make the tongue, we're gonna bend at the end like you did with the eyes and hide the center so it doesn't poke out. You can then turn and spiral a bit to get a small pink dot for the tongue. Check your size by holding it up to the mouthpiece that you made. Use the rest of the pink pipe cleaner from the tongue and fold it in half and cut in the middle. Shape this piece to the template on the inner ear shape. Before connecting the triangle, check it to one of the unfilled ears from earlier. It should sit right inside that open space in the ear. To connect and fill, weave around the back and through a couple of times on each side with the longer piece of the pink pipe cleaner. Once it's filled, bring the extra back to the bottom, opposite the starting side, to create another tail for connection and weave it once to lock it in place. Fit your filled pink ear inside the outer ear as shown. Wrap one of the pink connections under the bottom of the frame and loop back through from back to front to secure. Then use the remaining part of that connection to wrap along the bottom, covering up the beige. Do the same with the other connection. Once you have it wrapped on, make sure the ear is shaped to fit the whole space, leaving no gaps. Repeat this process, building the inner ear and securing it to the final open ear. Grab your tan pipe cleaner and measure and cut another 2-inch piece, with help if you need it. You will want a small triangle shape like you see on the template for the nose, so bend it over to create that small triangle as shown. You will be feeling this triangle mostly, making sure that it's small. Once you have the size and shape you want, you can twist the ends together to secure the shape. This will likely be at the apex of your triangle on the bottom. Be sure to hide one of the ends on the back inside the triangle and leave the other to connect. If you find you don't like the shape exactly, get an adult to help you trim the right shape as shown. You want a small triangle and it's going to point down. Now you have your nose. Now you can choose a front and put it together. Look at your pieces and determine which will be the front to put all the features on. Once you have your front, grab the eyes and locate the right placement on the template. Then push the connection through the fill to the back. Before you secure the first eye, add the second one to make sure they are even. You can then move them around to where you want them before locking them in place. Once they're where you want them, secure on the back. You will likely be able to trim some off before you secure. When you lock it in, be sure to push the connections down toward the bottom of the body to leave space for white sparkles that we're going to add later. Grab the mouth and locate the place to insert the connections. Be sure you're pushing the connections through the same horizontal space. Don't secure yet, as we will measure the rest of the features. Grab the nose and place the point touching the center vertical part of the mouth. Push in the nose and shape to the right spot. If this looks good, you can secure the pieces on the back side. If it's not quite right, you can always reposition any piece to make it more correct. Take your time. For a reference, the top flat part of the nose will line up around the bottom edge of the eyes. You can make a small C shape to secure the nose on the back and to lock it in and out of the way more. Trim the mouth pieces down and secure the remainder. You don't need everything that's back there, just a small amount to lock in. Again, to lock in better, you can make a curve or V on the back with the connection pieces as shown. Now you can shape the tongue with your scissors into a small V shape as indicated on the template. Be sure an adult helps you with this, and be careful as this is a delicate cutting process if you are an adult. Now place the tongue in the center of the mouth underneath the U-shaped bends of the smile. If you find it difficult to push through, you may be hitting your center brace. Wiggle around until it makes it through the gap. Trim down the extra you don't need on the back once in place and make that C-shaped bend to lock in the tongue. We need to make connections for the whiskers. Fold back a very small portion of each end so your wire looks like a staple as you see here. When you bend back both sides, you should have the whiskers the same size as the template. You need to do this to all 6 whiskers. With them all done, give each a small curve in the center to match the template before connecting. Now let's put them in. A good starting place for the first whisker on the left is about 1/4 of an inch above the edge of the mouth and a little inside the right edge of the left eye. You will be placing them and moving to where you want them before securing, but that's a good starting reference. Evenly space the rest and mirror them on the other side. On your last whisker, be sure to angle it down a little more than the others. Now be sure you're happy with your placement and shape and adjust as needed. To secure these connections, you'll have to feel for them because they're quite small, so be careful not to poke yourself. You'll be folding them over as you can to secure on each side. That means you have 12 securing points to do. This could be difficult to find, and they shouldn't really move once you connect the pieces together, but try your best to fold it over. Grab the final 2 cut wires you made for your feet. Shape to the template on the piece marked feet. As you shape your feet, be sure you're making it a little longer on each side than the template indicates in order to fold back the extra for connection. Once you have the shape, bend back a small amount as shown and then check for size on your template. Place your first foot onto the bottom of the piece as shown on the template. Be patient with this and move it as you need to get it into the right place before locking in on the back. Now do the same process and connect the other foot. Grab your white pipe cleaner and trim off about a 2-inch piece, carefully or with help, and then cut that piece in half again. Take one of those pieces and bend one edge back into a small hook or knob. Put the non-bend end through one eye on the upper right section. Shape and move it where you want it and bend down the connection on the back to lock it in. Wiggle it back and forth to get it through the eye and the fill. It could take some practice and patience. Repeat this process with your second small white piece for the other eye. Your placement will still be in the upper right part of the eye to match the first. This is what your back is going to look like, but don't worry, you're about to cover it up. Grab a front and back of one ear and let's connect them together now. Line them up with the pink on the front and grab the top connection at the apex to start. Push it through from back to front on the top of the pink ear and then pull that over both ears to lock it into the frame. With the top locked in, twist together the connections at the bottom on both sides as shown. Be sure you are just twisting up near the base of the ear. Don't twist the connections completely together all the way down. Repeat this process on the other ear. Now we're ready to connect them. You're gonna wanna put them together now before we connect them to the piece. So lay them on the filled piece with no features to start. You want the same spacing between the ears at the top. You can angle your ears as you want to make it look to your preference, but be sure they're even. When you think you have them about right, lay the front with the features over the top and move and angle them as you want. When they're in the right place for you, carefully move the front off and pin down the overlap of the ears. Then, at the place you've pinned, you're going to twist to connect them together to make a cat ear headband. Now lay it back on the piece and cover again to check for the right placement. Adjust the angle and placement as needed until it's right for you. Now grab that back piece again. The side facing you should be the side you don't want to see at all in the end. It's likely where you had all your connections while you were filling. Near the bottom on the left side, poke the tail connection through the fill to the back. Wrap the excess back around on top of the tail on the side of the frame to lock it in and hide. Your front cover will look like this. We're going to anchor our ears now. Grab the back, the piece you just put the tail on, and line them up on the top. Once they look good from the front, split your connections so the tail is in the back and the front. So you're going to have one side on the back and one side on the front. Use the back part to connect, pushing through the fill on the edge from back to front. Then twist that connection to the front connection and secure. Repeat this process for the other ear. Be sure your ear placement doesn't move. Keep checking your position. Push that connection through from back to front and then twist to lock in place on the front of the piece. With both ears locked in, pinch the tails together and push down on the front of the filled piece as shown. Check to see if you like the look by placing the front over it. Time to put it all together. We're going to be sewing your two halves with a pipe cleaner. Start just under the ear on the right side and push through from front to back, making sure to go through both pieces and lock it in place on the edge of the frame. Begin sewing around the kitty by looping from back to front of both pieces, keeping it tight as you go. Be sure to stay on the edge of the piece and don't go too far into the fill. Running the pipe cleaner through your fingers to give it a slight curl like a ribbon will help with this process. You may notice some resistance at the bottom due to the weave fill. Just be patient and work your way through. Go on the sides and in between the feet, so you'll only need about 3 at the bottom so that you don't move your feet. Hide the end when you get back to the other ear by pushing it through the back and just leave that piece inside or however you want to secure it. To finish, grab a small extra piece and sew together at the top of the head, pushing through both pieces from front to back and then locking onto the frame. Sew together across the top and hide the end. Line everything up just how you want it, and you're finished. You can connect a key ring to put it on your backpack, keys, purse, or hey, even your water bottle. Show us how you did. Tag us on Instagram @AscentArtCo and subscribe to this channel for more creations and tutorials. Thanks for creating with us. Let us know how it went and what you want to see next. Until then, happy twisting.